Hello, fellow music nuts, it's me, Cubby, with another personal spin, and today I'm reviewing something, but it's not a CD today. Today, I'm going to review the 2010 edition of 1001 Albums You Must Hear Before You Die. I am reviewing this having owned it for approximately 10 years, and as you can tell, this is a very worn out copy with tea stains and actually I own pen markings on it and all sorts because I did a series of Instagram thingies where I literally listened to every single album I own on CD that is in this book and decided then what I think of the book. I'd just like to point out that obviously this is my own opinion, and also a lot of people will go, "Oh, who needs a book to tell them what music to listen to?" That's not why I bought a book. I was looking to branch out into more music, and at the time I was mostly listening to just metal and punk, and I was like, I need to diversify a little bit. Not because I was bored of metal and punk. I just wanted new sounds to listen to, and I didn't really know where to look. Now, a lot of people would say, "Oh, use Spotify," or "Oh, just go out and buy some," and stuff like that. But that's not my method. So I bought this book not because I think they're the be all and know all and end all of music thingy. In fact, quite the opposite. In fact, when I bought this, having read it, I actually started writing my own version of it and called it Encyclopedia Musica. I have never finished it, however. Anyway, I bought it so that I could see what other people, because a lot of the albums in here, a lot of people go, "Oh yeah, they're really good." See what other people are liking and try them. Just try it, and then from there explore, say, okay, people who like this band that I also like have also tried this and this, so I'll try them as well. And it was just a more systematic way for me to expand my musical horizons. Anyway, with that out of the way, let's actually review the book. So the book is written by, about 100 different people, but the general editor is Robert Dimery. And the preface or preface is written by Michael Lydon, who's the founding editor of Rolling Stone, who are a magazine with questionable credentials. I've never ever bought a copy of any of the magazines, but I still thought, what a good way to go about it. And for the most part, the album is actually the book is actually pretty good. It's certainly a useful way of exploring further into the realms of music. There's lots of different things in there. There is a large focus on sort of 60s and 70s rock, but there is other stuff in there. There's jazz, there's some metal, there's a little bit of punk, and there's lots of all sorts of weird, excuse my stoma is kind of getting on the action, interesting stuff. And it's well presented, or it was before I ruined it, and well illustrated, and the writing is very sort of wordy, I suppose. But as you can see, it's quite useful. Let's use this particular example. It tells you the album, the artist, the length, the producer, and the nationality, and the label that it's on, and has a picture. Although not all of the albums have pictures. Some of them, obviously because of space, are just kind of a list. Typical, I can't find one like that at the moment. But there are some that are like that. Let me find one for you. I'll show you. I can't find one. Anyway, I have about just over 400 of the albums that are in this book. The downside to it is, and this is just my personal opinion, is there's too much focus on the very, very old guard bands like the Beatles, the Rolling Stones, the Byrds, and even a couple of new ones like Kid A, Radiohead, and bands like that. There's nothing wrong with these bands, as I've since found out. I actually quite like most of them. You know, but if you're limited to 1001 albums to listen to before you die, I don't think personally that I would include literally almost every single Beatles album, because I think there's other stuff that's been released since then that is equally as um, interesting, good, in some cases better, dare I say it, influential, and challenging to listen to than all of the Beatles albums. I mean, it literally has almost all of them in it, and the same with, well, not the Rolling Stones, but there are a lot of Rolling Stones. There's quite a lot of David Bowie albums in there. Now, as you all know, I like David Bowie quite a lot, but there's quite a lot of them, and I'm not sure it's really that essential. If you had to limit it to like 1001, I mean, it's quite hard to do when you got lots of albums, but and there's also some, and the Birds is another one. There's just like almost all of their albums, and I'm like, and I listen to them thinking, oh, okay, they must be a good band, and they are a good band, but like from Mr. Tambourine Man to the one that comes after it, they're practically in sound the same. I mean, obviously the songs are different, but the sound of the style is the same and things like that. And then you've got another jump in style to the psychedelic stuff, and then the country stuff, and it just there's other stuff out there that has since come out that just isn't in there, and there's also a general lack of appreciation for metal. Obviously, being a metalhead, I don't really like using the term metalhead for myself, but I suppose I am one. I started listening to music with metal, so I suppose I am a metalhead. There's not a lot of metal in there, and there's plenty of perfectly legitimately good albums that you should listen to before you die in the metal world that could be in there in place of, yes, the Beatles or the Rolling Stones or Radiohead. Not to replace all of them, but some of them. There's just too many of them, if you know what I mean. And like I think there's four Metallica albums. There's nothing wrong with Metallica, but four albums. I mean, you could replace one of the Metallica albums with a Testament album or something like that. Something that's just a little bit different and a little bit more out there, or maybe Heathen or Exodus. There's other choices they could have made, and I think it would have made the book that much better. There's a distinct lack of punk in there. They've got some of the early stuff from the 70s. But then there's nothing from the 90s. And now I was a teenager in the early 2000s, and I can tell you one thing right now, that pop punk, or whatever you want to call it, like Blink-182, Sum 41, NoFX, Rancid, was huge then. How that's not in the book, I don't know. Those albums were very influential. Ska punk, there's not very much of that, if any at all. There's also a distinct lack of African music in there, and there is some, but I'm pretty sure there's some more out there. And actually, the albums that are in there are quite hard to find, unfortunately, so I don't actually have any of them. I might have one. And I suppose this is becoming a bit of a rant, really, but that's the biggest flaw with this album, which is why I chose to rewrite it in my own document that got so big that it actually crashed the computer, and I had to write a new one to start from 1992. That said, it is a really good book. As a reference book, it's good, but the target audience that it's targeted at are going to know most of the Rolling Stones albums and stuff like that, so it's not really challenging for them. It's basically just a list of stuff they already approve of, and I feel that's a bit of a letdown. That said, I am thinking about buying the newest edition, which doesn't even have that many changes in it, and I have thoroughly enjoyed going through this and listening to all the albums, so much so that just for you guys, I am planning to do it again and review every single album that I have on CD. I will make another video of this announcing it. But I don't have all the albums in here on the CD, and because of that, the plan is to listen to all the albums that are in it, discuss them, but then also discuss the changes that I would make to the book, and also include roughly 600 other albums to replace the 600 that I don't have. It's a bit of a complex project, but hopefully we'll enjoy it. And overall, I give this book a good 8 out of 10 drums, except for that really big flaw. But I think, it's aimed at specific people and things like that. But even so, it's still a good book, and I recommend it if you're looking for new music to try. It's really good. There is actually about 2 newer editions after this one. This is quite old. It's 10 years old, and it looks it too. So there we go. It's not a bad book, but it's not perfect. But then I suppose any list is subjective, isn't it? So there we go. So if you've read this book, let me know what you think of it in the comments below. Please don't be offended about my thing about the Beatles and the Rolling Stones and other bands like that. I do like them. I do understand their importance to the music history and their influence. I did do 3 years of music college, and so I understand it. But coming from a younger generation, I also think that they are looked at through rose-coloured glasses by their older generations, and there's nothing wrong with that. Anyway, thank you for watching. Let me know what you think of this in the comments below. If you like my videos, please like and subscribe, and I can't wait to start doing this project with you guys. So, thanks for watching, and I shall see you soon. Goodbye.